the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Sit back down and shut your trap. It's time for
Keeping It Sports with M3, right here on All Noise Radio.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Well, I'll need some beer.
Are you ready?
You have to ask me nicely.
Come on now, don't be bashful.
Are you ready? Are you ready for
Place for the best sports talk and news surrounding each league.
I can prove it with my usual flawless logic.
Hey man, this time I'm gonna do it my way.
What's your name again?
And now, here's your host, M3, Mike Rosansky. Coming to you from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's time for Keeping It Sports with M3, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everything's going well for you here on this Monday, the 16th day of December. How's it going out there? Hope you're all having a great day. Just, 9 days away from the big day. The day we love, the day we also dread because we feel like we have to go over the top to please our family and friends and any other loved ones in our lives. But as I said last week, don't kill yourself over it. It's the thought that counts more than anything else. But hey, before we get to that, we've got plenty of things to talk about, plenty of things to discuss on this Monday, middle of December. And, so much going on from, college football, from the NFL, Major League Baseball, not quite where to start. But, right now in the NFL, we're at an interesting time here. We're at a fun time because we're almost there. We're almost to the great Christmas present that the NFL gives us each year, the NFL playoffs. And still 2 weeks out, there's still so much undecided. Division titles, playoff seeding, wild cards, especially on the AFC side of things. Every hour there's a game on with some form of significance, some form of meaning to the overall end game, the overall destination, the NFL postseason, where, as we've seen plenty of times over the years, you just get hot. You get hot at the right time. You can win it all. The best team does not always win this. I mean, no disrespect in saying this, but 2007, not a lot of us thought the Giants were the best team. They were a 6 seed that got in late, battled their ass off at the very end, and got hot in the postseason thanks to a good defense, good run game, and clutch plays by Eli Manning. And that has basically defined his legacy. Clutch moments and being there in the right spot. Maybe always not being dominant, but being there in the right spot. That's why, yesterday I wasn't going to start off with this, but while we're at it, I'm glad that Eli got his final moment in the sun. And we can all discuss, what his future lies. I'm glad he got to play at Metlife Stadium at least one more time. Because whether you think the Giants made the wrong decision, the right decision, I tend to think they made the right choice way back in week 3, switching to Daniel Jones, because they were on a season that was really going nowhere, a season that no one expected much out of this Giants team. everything was going to have to go right for them to be in playoff contention. So you might as well get the rookie in there, get his lumps, get his, break into the NFL moments out of the way so that a year from now, you're looking at it and say, damn, we're glad we got that experience for Daniel Jones in his rookie season. But I was glad Eli got one last crack at it, one last time out there, because he's meant everything to this Giants team over these last 16 years. He's been the only consistent. We've seen players come, players go all over the offense, all over the defense, whether it be, they just got older and retired, whether it be they forced their way out in the way of an Odell Beckham, whether injuries ended their career short, like in the case of Victor Cruz. Plenty of situations, Tiki Barber retiring early in his career. So many top-of-the-line Giants players leave this team for many reasons. And these last 16 years, he's been the only constant there. That's why, one of the big debates with Eli Manning has always been, is he a Hall of Famer or not? Is he a guy that deserves a bust in Canton, Ohio? And you look at it from both ways. You look at it from the side of, his overall numbers look great. Overall, over the course of his total career, the numbers look great. But in another sense, when you break it down the way I normally do, break it down in the fact that of a year-by-year situation, it's not as impressive as you would want it to be. If he had done it over a shorter span, put up the all the gaudy numbers, the 57,000 yards, 300 touchdowns, passer rating of 84%, done that over the course of, say, instead of 16 years, done it over the course of maybe 13 years, then we're having a different story on that side of things. But when you look at it, breaking it down year by year, you can understand the argument of those that say he's not a Hall of Famer, saying that, he was a compiler, that he was never really an MVP level guy. He was never Peyton Manning. Well, Peyton Manning's one of the 5 to 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time, depending on where he is in your ranking. It's always been unfair to measure him up against his brother. It's always been unfair to look at it in that way. My stance on this has always been that this guy was clutch when you needed him to be there. Yeah, he wasn't great over the course of the season statistically, but had so many late game winning drives. You look at the postseason, the 2 magical postseason runs, including beating an undefeated Patriot team that no one gave that Giants team a chance at beating unless you were the most passionate, diehardest of diehard fans. You never gave that team a shot at winning it. And not only does he beat the Patriots once, he comes back 4 years later and beats them again, showing that it was not a fluke, showing that it was, something real, something to behold, that they could beat this team twice and take that team away from being an unstoppable Giant, put that mark on their record of something other than Spygate or Deflategate being the knock against them. Plus, people talk about, compiler. He just compiled numbers. Well, in an NFL case, I think I'm favorable to a compiler because the best ability is availability. Over the years, we've seen almost all of them get hurt. All of them missed time. Drew Brees has missed time. Aaron Rodgers has missed time. Tom Brady missed a year. His brother Peyton missed a year. Brett Favre missed time late in his career. Never once did we hear Eli missing time due to an injury. Yeah, he got taken out of the starter role 2 years ago unfairly by the head coach at the time, Ben McAdoo. And Ben McAdoo stupidly said Geno Smith gives us a better chance at winning this game. But that was probably what led to the Giants, holding on to him another 2 years, feeling that he was, still good enough to win, thought that they owed him something. That's why they've tried to win rather than rebuild these last couple of years, especially with, drafting Saquon Barkley. But he never missed time due to an injury. He had so many, little nicks over the years, so many things that hurt him. He had plantar fasciitis at one point. Hell, you think back to that second Super Bowl run against the 49ers, the overtime victory out in Santa Clara. Eli Manning got his ass kicked in that game. Eli Manning was getting hit left and right throughout that evening, and still, whether it was via the help of an offensive lineman scraping him off the ground like a spatula or on his own will and mental toughness, he kept getting back up. He kept getting up and led them to winning that game. He was a true warrior in every sense of the word. So to me, I'm not saying he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he definitely deserves a spot in Canton. That's why I am glad he got this last moment for Giant fans that always appreciated him, to say goodbye to him at Metlife Stadium, and the Giant fans that maybe didn't appreciate him as much or took him for granted to look and say, damn, how lucky were we to have this guy as our quarterback these last 16 years. He wasn't always dominant, but he was always available when we needed him and never shied away from the big moment. And, Giant fans, there's going to be some that are disappointed they won yesterday, thinking it hurts them in the Chase Young sweepstakes. But wouldn't you rather Eli get that victory so that in his Hall of Fame case in a couple years, people aren't using him against him, that he's under 500 as a career quarterback? Because, as I said, there's going to be that crowd out there. There's going to be those people out there that say he's not a Hall of Famer. At least he doesn't have this hanging over his head. All right, that wasn't where I was planning on starting today. As talked about before, a lot going on with NFL postseason races, which I'll talk about as the hour goes along here. I'll also mix in baseball as well, maybe fit in some college football along the way where I see fit. So a lot to talk about for the next 45 minutes or so here. Glad you could join me. If you're watching live via Facebook, thank you very much. You see the phone line up there to call in. I saw as I was talking, someone tried to call in. If you're an actual caller, please try to call back after the next break, and I'll see if I can fit the call in there. But as I said, a lot to talk about the next 45 minutes, and I'll try to get to it all on the other side of this break. So sit back, relax. Hell, put your feet up on the table if you feel like it, and continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
Our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production,
every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
And this is a piece you're filming on your Advanced Scout?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, guys. I don't see the Advanced Scout in this footage.
No, it's not. We were trying to get some field perspective. It's my bad. You can't
That's not the field.
That. That's
why you would think you could take that.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I'm sorry. But I can delete this right here for you.
Damage is done, my friend.
No, it isn't, because we deleted it.
Yeah, once it gets deleted,
it's gone. It's gone.
29 yards on the punt.
I can't get that footage.
29 yards.
There's no way I can get that footage back. I'm being honest with you. And I don't have a computer to even put it anywhere. Once this card's, that's it.
Yeah, I don't see the Advanced Scout in any of this video they're shooting.
Oh, wow. We're back at this again. As most of you probably saw last week, news came out around Monday or Tuesday that the Patriots website had film crew at the Browns-Bengals game in Week 14 to shoot footage for their web document series, Do Your Job, doing a feature on one of their advanced scouts. So they asked the Cleveland Browns permission in advance. Browns said, okay. And as they were shooting this, security came upon them up in the press box. Security in that clip, as we would hear, did not see them shooting an advanced scout, rather the Cincinnati Bengals sideline, a.k.a. the Patriots' next opponent coming up in Week 15. And we've heard over the last week comments from Bill Belichick in his radio interview on WEEI up in Boston, try to claim that, that stuff's all on a website side of things. I have nothing to do with that. Tried to deflect comments about it during his weekly press conference on Wednesday. And all I've got to say is, really? Really? How stupid do you think we are, first of all, Bill Belichick? All right, you've been caught once before with this when you were shooting a walkthrough for the Rams all those years ago. Got thrown under the bus, rightly or wrongly, by your former protege, Eric Mangini, in about 2005, 2006, somewhere along there. Led to you losing a draft pick, fine. And I'm sure you've done this more than we realize over the years. But you're going to try and tell us you have nothing to do with, the the web series, Do Your Job, saying it's just Patriots website thing, Craft Productions. I mean, come on. How stupid do you think we are? Nothing goes on up there in Foxborough without you knowing, and we all know it. I mean, am I wrong here? Am I wrong here? Am I wrong to say that he knew about this, and now he's going to try and play us like fools, act like we're stupid in all of this? And the most ridiculous part about all of this is it's not like he was doing this again with the Kansas City Chiefs game or a Baltimore Ravens game or a team that matters. They were filming the sidelines of a 1-12 team at the time, and he's going to try and say this BS. I mean, it's bad enough that if you did this against, the Ravens or Chiefs, as I was saying, but you didn't have the confidence to beat a 1-11 team, then 1-12 team when you were about to play them. A team that even with as much as they've struggled on offense this year, the Patriots could beat in their sleep. As we saw yesterday, the Bengals were up 10-7 at one point, but they continuously turned over the ball, whether it be on a kickoff 2 minutes before halftime, or the fact that in the second half, Andy Dalton decided to play pitch and catch with Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson, throwing 4 interceptions in the last 20 minutes of this game. You didn't need to do this nonsense. That's why, I mean, it should be an even more embarrassing thing for this organization, for this head coach, that as great as they've been these last 20 years, they're going to have this ugly smear hanging over the organization. The Deflategate and Spygate, the fact that they've had these black marks hanging over what should be one of the great legacies in the history of the NFL. And doing this against the worst team in the NFL, you notice that they didn't try to pull this against an upcoming opponent that is a playoff contender or someone that they see over the course of the rest of the season. They didn't try and pull this against Buffalo so they could try and get a better edge over them. Because let's face it, you go back to that matchup in Week 4, Bills probably would have beaten the Patriots if Josh Allen did not leave the game with a concussion. And now they play them next Saturday once again with the division on the line. Speaking of the Bills, give them a little bit of credit here as they not only clinched a playoff spot last night, but had their first 10-win season since 1999. They owe a little bit of credit there to Devlin Hodges, who I think we could stop with this duck nickname already. I mean, go out there and win a playoff game before we're giving you nicknames. But Hodges, continuously turning over the ball in the second half, including the second interception by Tre'Davious White that kind of got the Bills going once again. If not for a late tackle on the play, he's probably running into the end zone. And that was a drive that I looked at as kind of a turning point in the game because, here the Steelers are, they're on the Bills' side of the field. If the Bills didn't have much going offensively, especially with Allen, if they get another score here, maybe this puts a little doubt in the Bills' mind playing on Sunday Night Football for the first time, at least in the NBC era. But instead, Hodges kept turning over the ball, had the 2 interceptions in the end zone late with all the chances the Steelers had going down the stretch. And now the Bills are heading off to the postseason. In all likelihood, will be the 5 seed, where they will probably play the winner of the AFC South. An AFC South that you look at and you say that it's probably the most confusing division in the NFL right now because no one seemingly wants to win it. I mean, I think we can already say that Colts are out of the picture. The Colts, they're done. Even if they pull off a miracle against the Saints on Monday Night Football tonight, they're still under 500, probably don't have much of a shot at winning this division. But, you got the Texans, who are probably the weirdest team in the league. They win games that they're not supposed to and lose games that they're supposed to win. Like, last week in Denver getting blown out. Come back this week and pull off the victory against the Titans in Tennessee. Kind of a weird game because they're trading possessions in the first quarter. You're wondering, when's anybody going to score here? The Titans finally get a long drive going before Tannehill throws the interception to Merciless, and he takes it all the way back to Tennessee's 12-yard line. Set up back-to-back scoring drives for the Texans. But I thought what really helped the Texans here was not the turnover by Tannehill, not Watson able to overcome his early interception. I thought the key was the fact that they were able to keep Derrick Henry in check. He had 4 consecutive games of over 100 yards on the ground, kept him to right around 4 yards a carry, and did not let him wreck the game as we've seen him do in many weeks. But even with this win, putting the Texans 9-5, Titans down to 8-6, I can't confidently say that I believe in the Texans holding on and winning this division, because you look at the last 2 games of the year for both teams. They each got 1 home game, 1 road game left. The Texans will actually be playing on Saturday afternoon against the Buccaneers this week. And, the Bucs, they're not going anywhere. They're not going in the postseason. But Jameis Winston has had led them on a 4-game winning streak. And, we know he's very turnover prone with some of the interceptions he's thrown. And he's playing without Mike Evans. But they're 4-0. He's averaging over 450 yards in his last 2 games, 375 in his last 4 games combined, and has just been excellent these last couple of weeks. I've said the Texans, they win games they're not supposed to, lose games they're supposed to win. This is the game that you would say on paper they're supposed to win. But you never know. The Bucs may come in fired up, knowing that they could hinder this team's playoff chances. And then, they play in Week 17. I have no idea what to expect out of that match. What I do think will happen is that game will still have meaning as far as the overall race for the AFC South. Now, a couple other things I came across yesterday. Number one, it was a bad day if you are a gambler. If you are a gambling person, this was essentially the sports god's way of giving you the middle finger with what happened yesterday. Because one thing I'm a huge fan of is a segment that SportsCenter does couple times a week, mostly on Monday nights after Monday Night Football. But sometimes there'll be a rare bad beat segment on a late night SportsCenter over the course of the week if they just can't help themselves, can't wait till Monday to break something down. Well, you had a couple of really atrocious bad beats over the course of the afternoon in games that had significant meaning, in games that had playoff, implications surrounding them. The first of which being the Falcons against the 49ers. Falcons, another team. They've had a disappointing year, but you never know what to expect from them. A lot like their division rival, the Bucs. They can go out there and beat anybody seemingly in any week, but you're not surprised if they get their ass kicked and are blown out. But the Falcons, hung tough with the 49ers yesterday in Santa Clara. What helped them get going, I thought, was late in the third quarter when Matt Breida fumbled on their side of the field when it looked like the Niners were going in to go up 2 scores. The Niners had a lot of problems with fumbles yesterday. Managed to hold on to a couple of them or not lose possession on a couple of them, but that was a key one there. But what I'm talking about on the gambling side of things is here's where it gets wacky. Got 2 minutes to go, third down on the Atlanta 25-yard line, 49ers up by 2. Now, that they could either go in for a score here or they can try and milk the clock. We're at the 2-minute warning. Falcons only got 2 timeouts left. but you have the pass to the right to George Kittle, in which he fumbles the ball out of bounds 1 yard short of the line to game. Niners decide to just settle for a field goal. Problem here is with the fumble out of bounds, stop the clock, allowed actually stop the clock on a Falcons timeout, and you're giving the ball back to the Falcons after the field goal try, giving the Falcons still one timeout to use. You get the first down there, Kittle holds on to the ball. You're talking about taking more time off the clock, forcing the Falcons to use their timeouts and potentially end this game 19-17. Instead, Atlanta gets the ball back down by 5, one last chance, drives down the field, and the last 10 seconds was just kind of crazy to me. You first thinking that Atlanta had a go-ahead touchdown on the pass to Austin Hooper in the end zone. They go review it, claim that the ball hit the ground and that it wasn't a catch. And to me, that review, it wasn't decisive enough to tell us it was not a catch. All right. So, got still 5 seconds left to go. Final play of the game. And what happens? Julio Jones catches it at the 1, barely gets the nose of the football across to the end zone to give them a go-ahead score with 2 seconds left, making it 23-22. From here, this is where you know that you should never bet an under in a game. Quick math, 23 plus 22, that's 45. Following kickoff, Niners, squib kick to the Niners. Niners trying to pull, the old hook and lateral, craziness. When someone throws the ball 20 yards behind them, that's when you know it's not going well. And that's exactly what Raheem Mostert did, throwing the ball 20 yards behind him to his own 3-yard line, picked up, recovered by the Falcons. They go into the end zone, win the game 29-22. 29 plus 22 is 51. The over-under was 48.5. So you have the betting gods flipping you off right there. The other one, and this is just cruel, this was unfair, was Eagles-Redskins. Because, the Eagles, as we know, have to win out if they want to win the division. That's the only way they can get into the postseason. And the Redskins, who are playing for nothing other than draft position and pride, actually hung tough with them, actually gave them a game and battled their rear ends off all day long. But that this was just cruelty what happened here. Because, it seemed like in that fourth quarter, they were trading scores back and forth. The Redskins got the fortunate bounce on the Wentz fumble. Jonathan Allen recovers. They have to settle for a 43-yard field goal, take a 27-24 lead. On the final drive, Wentz, recovers from that, leads an 11-play, 75-yard touchdown and takes the lead back with only 26 seconds to go, 31-27. The line in this game was Eagles minus 6.5. So all day long, the Redskins, they're dancing around covering. They had a 7-3 lead early. Eagles kept battling back to take the lead, but the Redskins would always follow that with a score to either tie or take the lead in their own right. Final drive, Haskins playing probably his best game as a pro, looking for one last chance, fumbles the final play right into the hands of Nigel Bradham. He takes it back for a 47-yard touchdown, 37-27 at the buzzer. Eagles cover. As unfair a cover as we've ever seen. I mean, if you had Redskins as a home dog and the under in the Falcons-Niners game in a parlay yesterday, oh, God bless you, because that was just the cruel, that sports gambling can be. The worst of a back-to-back of bad beats I've probably ever seen in my time watching sports and understanding the gambling behind it. Gonna take a break here, come back on the other side, go through some more of the playoff races, playoff implication games. Try to stick away from the gambling aspect of all of this. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
It's been 48 years. You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
Welcome back to Keeping It Sports with M3. Hope you're all having a great Monday. Tell your friends about this podcast, where they can find it each and every single week through Facebook.com/Keeping It Sports with M3, as well as on Twitter at Keeping It Sports. Unfortunately, I had to cut it short there. And also find the replay of the live version of it on YouTube entitled Keeping It Sports with M3. Now, went over the Niners-Falcons game and the Eagles-Redskins game a couple minutes ago because, as I said, the gambling side of it had me laughing my ass off because I'm not a gambler, but I pity those who had those games. But the aspect that is most important is how it affects the playoff races, because with the 49ers loss, with them having their third loss of the season, falling to now 11-3, and falling to a point where if the playoffs began today, they would be a wild card starting the postseason on the road, a very dangerous wild card, playing at the winner of the NFC East if either team actually wants to win that. But it also hurt them with the fact that the Seahawks beat the Panthers yesterday, and with them still having the tiebreaker, regaining the lead in that NFC West. Seahawks helped out by Chris Carson really carrying the load, with Rashad Perry now likely done for the season with his knee injury. Also getting helped out once again by what has become a trend for young Mr. Kyle Allen. The fact that over this 6-game losing streak, he's thrown now 11 interceptions along with a few fumbles along the way. And, every single time it looked like they were going to threaten in this game, the Panthers, even down 20-7 late in the third quarter. They kept giving the ball right back. And you have a situation here where in a 5-play span, KJ Wright picked off Allen twice in either Seattle territory or right in the red zone of the Carolina Panthers. Seattle, had to get those breaks, but it seems like they're winning a different way every week. Whether one week it's Russell Wilson throwing for over 300 yards. 1 week it's the ground game. 1 week it's the defense getting a lot of turnovers. Why? Part of the reason why they've had a historic season in the fact that they're 10-1 in one-score games. Most wins by one score, I believe, in single season in league history. But hey, you don't apologize for victory. You take it as you go. Now, the other game I was talking about, Eagles, Redskins, why it was so important with the Eagles is, their only way of getting in the postseason is winning the NFC East. That's it. No other rhyme, reason, way that they can get into the postseason unless you just have one of these wild card teams completely fall apart at this point. And even doing the math, I don't think it truly works out in their favor when it comes to the second team in the NFC North as far as wild card hopes there. But then when you're looking right after that, the Cowboys finally woke up yesterday, finally decided to play up to their talent ability and not just defeat, but destroy a winning team. First time all year that they've beaten the team with a winning record. As they took no prisoners against the Rams at home yesterday. Even at a time where, you're thinking the main story of this game is how the Cowboys and Dak Prescott messed up the call on the opening kickoff, something that I've never heard before, with Dak saying kick when he was supposed to say defer, that leading to the refs originally saying that the Rams were going to get the ball to start both halves before New York had to intervene and say, no, that we're counting that as defer. They get the ball to start the second half. But no, the Cowboys yesterday dominated the line of scrimmage. Their defensive line held Gurley to only 20 yards altogether. And their offensive line not only kept Dak protected, but opened up gaping holes for Zeke and Tony Pollard to take advantage of, with the two of them combining for 248 yards on the ground yesterday. Yesterday was probably the best I've seen Zeke Elliott play this year, with having a little extra burst, a little extra power, fighting through and creating holes, able to not just get the 2 touchdowns, but run for over 110 yards on the afternoon yesterday. And what was really the turning factor for this was about a minute and a half to go in the first half. Rams, down by 2 scores in the first half. You're thinking, oh, no big deal. Get to overtime. We could change the feel of this game in the second half. But you had that horrible interception by Goff with about a minute and a half to go in their own territory. Sean Lee getting in and bringing them within a 1st and goal situation. When Zeke scored that touchdown with less than a minute to go, put him up by 3 touchdowns, I'm thinking, no way the Rams are going to come back in this game. They can't run the football. Goff looks shocked, mentally defeated after that interception. And, it just felt, by the way that offensive line for the Cowboys was playing in that first half, that this was going to be their kind of day. And now sets up a great matchup, great matchup statistically. I don't know if we can look at it and say great matchup. Next Sunday when these two teams play in Philadelphia. I mean, someone's got to win this. Someone has got to win this division. They're not just going to come out and say, oh, the NFC East will not be represented in the postseason and we'll take the Rams as a 3rd wild card team. Someone's going to go. Whether they go in at 8-8, 7-9, 7-7-2, 7-8-1, somebody 9-7 somehow. Somebody's winning this division. It's just a matter of who and how they get it done. And one other exciting thing as far as divisions being decided is going to be in Week 16, the final Monday night game of the year between the Vikings and the Packers. The division on the line in all likelihood in that game. After the Packers surviving the Bears yesterday, a lot of this was the fact that the Bears just could not run the football. I mean, that the Packers were able to contain David Montgomery, force Trubisky to try and beat them. And, I don't so much blame him for the interception before halftime because, you're just trying to make a play there, hope for a prayer, maybe get a lucky bounce to go your way. But the interception he threw in the fourth quarter was kind of a killer. They had just scored on the previous drive, get back within one score. Their defense stops Rodgers and the Packers, gets the football back, and he throws an interception to that defensive lineman on his own 46-yard line. Even though the Packers didn't score there, took time, took opportunity away from the Bears at a time when you thought they had momentum going their way. Add that in with the fact that, they failed on 3 fourth-down conversions yesterday, kind of put the dagger in their season. A season that was, for the Bears, disappointing after going to the postseason last year with all of, them at the time setting a record for one-score victories in a season. Kind of came back to bite them this year. That the up and down play of Trubisky in the middle of the season, injuries along their defense at times, losing some of their key pass rushers, losing Hicks for a while, losing Roquan Smith for a good amount of time. Kind of just killed their season. But this team, they add a piece or two on the outside as far as receivers go, and Trubisky takes that next step next year in what's going to be an all-important fourth season for him. They still are built to win, built to have success over the next several years. Now, for the Packers, wasn't great, wasn't pretty, but a win is a win, as I always say. And now they play the Vikings in Minnesota on Monday Night Football next week. Vikings coming off an impressive victory against the Chargers yesterday, though felt like the Chargers handed them the game, especially when you have the coach coming out and saying yesterday, we turned the ball over 7 times, got our ass kicked. Next question. And, you look at, I would say the bigger problem I have is not Rivers' interceptions, because 2 of them came late when they were already down by 29. The game was pretty much out of hand at that point. But he throws the interception before halftime when they're only down by 2. The only break there they get is Cousins throwing an interception on the very next drive. But fumbles with 23 seconds to go, and Denobo picks up, runs 56 yards back the other way, takes a 9-point lead going into halftime. And on top of that, all of Todd Gurley's troubles with fumbles yesterday, whether it be fumbling with a minute and a half left in the first quarter in your own territory, giving points to the Vikings, setting them up for a field goal, or fumbling on the first play of the second half, allowing Minnesota to go down for another field goal. The only thing that kept them in the game at that point is that Minnesota kept settling for field goals. And on the Vikings side, they had the bad news of losing Cook early on in this game to a shoulder injury, but they get this kid Boone come in, rush for a couple of touchdowns along the way there, and were able to take advantage of what was an ugly, disgusting day for the Chargers when it comes to turnovers. So sets up what's a fun, exciting Week 16 with so much on the line. I mentioned we got 3 Saturday games coming up this week, thanks to the college bowl games not truly getting underway in earnest. With Texans still trying to play for a division, the Bills and the Patriots in Foxborough. Surprisingly, the AFC East is on the line. If Bills win out, Patriots lose out, Bills will win that division for the first time in a long time. And then the nightcap, Rams-Niners. Rams still trying to hold small hope they have at getting a wild card alive, while the 49ers are trying to not just win the division, but get home field advantage in the playoffs at a time where you have 4 teams at 11-3. You look at then Sunday, of course, probably the most talked about matchup that day will be the battle for the NFC East, where Eagles win. They stand a great shot at winning the division in Week 17 with playing the Giants at MetLife, while the Cowboys will be playing the Redskins. Cowboys win, they get the division. And then Monday Night Football next week with all the chips on the line. NFC North on the line. Packers in Minnesota. And, the Packers, they haven't been winning pretty. They've been winning mostly with their ground game and their defense. I mean, it hasn't been the prototypical year we expect out of Aaron Rodgers. Still good, just not the greatness we've come to expect from him consistently this year. And we'll see if Kirk Cousins can handle that big pressure, because as we know, he's never won a game on Monday Night Football. So this is what you like. This is what you like going down the stretch in the NFL season. Everything on the line, all the chips up for grabs, with playoff battles, playoff races to be decided everywhere you turn. And there's nothing more you could ask for as a sports fan, even if your team is not in the heart of one of these playoff races. All right, I'm going to take one more break here, come back on the other side, and talk about why, for the first time ever, baseball fans are happy that they are getting Cole in their stockings this Christmas. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
The media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with locations up and down the East Coast, from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Big finish here. Welcome back to Keeping It Sports with M3. And as I mentioned before, a certain group of baseball fans are getting Cole in their stockings this year at Christmas. And we are very happy about it. As, I had a feeling that this was going to happen with Gerrit Cole. Not, just him signing with the New York Yankees. But I had a feeling that last week at this time, it wasn't going to drag into the new year, as I originally thought coming into the offseason. Figured that, Scott Boras would wait around, try and get the most money he possibly could. But then when I was sitting here 1 week ago at this time, and I get an alert on my iPad that Steven Strasburg had re-signed with the Nationals for, at the time, a record-setting 7 years, $245 million. So, this could go down at the winter meetings because now the focus is off Strasburg. Everybody's going to be looking at the even, or should I say slightly bigger fish in Gerrit Cole. He's going to have all that time to work on getting him the largest deal, knowing that, all right, you're going to have to go way beyond 245, have to go more years. So like the crazy, insane person I am, I was sitting there Tuesday night, continuously scrolling through Twitter on either my iPad, iPod, or on my phone, wondering, is there going to be news tonight? It felt like there was a good chance that there was going to be news. And at 11:56, Jeff Passan of ESPN and John Heyman of MLB Network, WFAN, probably 10 or 12 other different media outlets. It seems like that guy has 400 jobs, whatever, reported that the Yankees and Gerrit Cole were in an agreement on a 9-year, $324 million contract, largest for a free agent pitcher in history, largest contract given out over the last 2 years to a free agent. First time ever that a pitcher gets a 9-year contract. And we knew he was going to get a record amount. I just wasn't sure how many years it was going to be. And, the years I really don't have a big problem with, because you look at, it's not like they're giving him this contract at age 35. He's 29, all right? And there's a 5th-year opt-out. So if he's pitching as well as we expect him to into his 30s, he may use that, and you won't have to worry too much about the back end of the contract at that time. But no, this was a move that I felt the Yankees had to make because, yeah, they didn't lose last year because of starting pitching or lose because of pitching in general, even though, as you know, I thought they overused this opener strategy as well as it went for them at times. To me, that led to the bullpen getting gassed in the postseason. You could see that with Ottavino. You could see that with Zach Britton and how he was on fumes in Game 6. And the more times the hitters are going to see guys, the better chance they have against them, no matter how great these relievers are. But with the fact that you have Tanaka as a 6-inning starter at the most, James Paxton as a guy that, sometimes you're pushing it if you go beyond 6 innings. Luis Severino, they haven't let him elevate to that point where they consistently let him go past 100 pitches in a start. You needed that workhorse, that ace in the front of your rotation that when he pitches, in all likelihood you're getting at least 7 innings and at times 8 innings of him going deep in the game, giving the bullpen the night off, so then you could spread out the bullpen work over the rest of the relievers over the course of the season. And, as I said, he's only getting better from here. Remember, 2 years ago, he was a sinker bowler with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He goes to Houston. They turn him into a 4-seam fastball guy, and he's had a record amount of strikeouts each of the last 2 years. 276 in 2018, and goes well over the 300 mark in strikeouts this past year. So I don't see him fading anytime soon. He's been relatively healthy, and there was not going to be another guy like this on the market in the next 3 to 4 years. And with the fact that Tanaka's a free agent after next year, Paxton's a free agent after next year, and Happ, if he's still here, is a free agent after next year, you weren't going to just turn your rotation after next season into Severino, Montgomery, Herman, if he's still here, and a bunch of minor leaguers. you needed to get that big ace pitcher. This could be this decade's version of what CC Sabathia was when he got here. And it helps that you had Hal Sternberner finally willing to open the purse strings on a guy that deserved it. I mean, he's the only reason they didn't go well and beyond on guys like Patrick Corbin is because they liked him as a pitcher, but they didn't feel that they were worth that 6 year and a total of 140. Didn't want to go to the extra level of trading for some of these secondary aces or good number twos that were available. This is legitimately one of the best pitchers in the sport. Also helps when his childhood idol is a Yankee legend in Andy Pettitte. And you look at the Yankees roster, you look at the Angels roster, you tell me that which team has a better chance at being not just in the postseason, but a championship contender this year. And I guess the $324 million over 9 years doesn't hurt either. But this is a move, I felt the Yankees had to make. I'm glad that they made it. And now it's got me excited for the start of next year, and we're still 4 months out from it. I mean, you look at what's left to do this offseason. They re-signed Brett Gardner the other day, which I figured they were going to do with Aaron Hicks out next year. You need a stabilizer at center field. I don't expect Gardner to have as big a power production as he did or be as consistent as he was, because we've seen over the course of his career how consistently inconsistent he can be at times, hitting 270 in the first half, hitting 230 in the second half. But he's a solid big leaguer. He's been here forever. And, as long as he wants to play, I guess Brian Cashman's going to keep bringing him back. But as far as what's next, people bring up, adding left-hand bat, adding a power arm in the bullpen. You've heard the rumors over the last couple of days of the Yankees being aggressive to try and trade for Josh Hader of the Brewers. I don't believe for a second that they're getting Josh Hader. You realize what they'd have to give up? They have to, it would have to start with Andujar, Davy Garcia, and probably add 2 or 3 other prospects in the mix with the fact that Hader is first-year arbitration eligible this year, still has 4 years of control left, is only 25 years old, has been the Trevor Hoffman Award winner the last 2 years, is the best reliever in the National League. The Brewers are just trying to gauge the market to see if they can try and gouge everything from someone else's system for arguably their best player. To me, all I'm asking for the rest of this offseason, get us a backup catcher with the fact that Austin Romine signed with the Tigers, and add another reliever to the mix. Go re-sign Dylan Betances. He's lifetime Yankee. Before this year had really no injury problems that I can remember. You're not sign him 1 year, $6 million, $7 million, something like that. You're not bringing him back to right away put in the 8th inning. You can ease him back into the season with all the guys you still in this pen. Chapman, Britton, Ottavino, Canely, Chad Green. To a lesser extent, you may have Domingo Germán in this bullpen, depending on what length of suspension he has over in the beginning of this year. So he can just kind of ease in what's already, without him, the best bullpen in baseball, and becomes even better if he's fully healthy and back to the Betances that we're used to. But even more so than what the Yankees have done or haven't done. I mean, I'm still disappointed they didn't bring back Didi Gregorius. At least he didn't go to, an American League team, went to the Phillies, and can still see him on occasion when the Phillies are playing games in my area. But even more so than what the Yankees have done, what I'm happy about as a baseball fan is the fact that we got action going on here in free agency. And you're not seeing everyone sit there until the turn of the new year. Everyone's sitting there wondering, oh, when is something going to happen? I mean, I remember last year when MLB was in Las Vegas for the winter meetings, and MLB Network is doing live coverage every night. You have the guys sitting on their hands, looking around at each other, wondering, is something ever going to happen? Is something on Machado, Harper, any of these other free agents going to happen? Finally, you're seeing teams go out there and make moves, not just everybody trying to rebuild at the same time. You're having teams be opportunistic, with the Braves adding a couple of relievers. The White Sox giving out the richest contract in their history to Yasmani Grandal. Padres making trades, as well as signing Drew Pomeranz to set up Kirby Yates. I mentioned the Phillies signing Didi, as well as signing Zach Wheeler to a 5-year, $118 million contract. The Reds, the 4-year contract they gave to Moustakas, and believe me, he's deserved it after the last 2 years of having to battle with the qualifying offer, finally gets that big multi-year contract. Scott Boras, he made a boatload for himself over the course of the winter meetings, with his 3 biggest clients signing contracts of a combined worth of over $800 million, with Strasburg, Cole, and then Anthony Rendon signing on with the Angels. And even since then, we've seen action continue to happen. And these 2 moves I'm kind of surprised about. With I'm not sure what I'm more surprised about, though. Madison Bumgarner knew he was going to get a big contract, but with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I didn't watch enough Diamondbacks baseball last year, but are they really ready in a spot to win? I mean, you kept hearing the rumor that Bumgarner might turn to the dark side and join the Dodgers, his longtime hated rival. But did they not offer enough? I'm surprised by the fit there with going to the D-backs, especially after they traded off Zach Greinke's contract last year and have been looking to trade Robbie Ray since the trade deadline. And then the trade of the Indians sending Corey Kluber to the Texas Rangers. And it's not so much the Indians trading Kluber, it's the fact that they traded him, and it feels like a salary dump. They acquired Delino DeShields and a minor league reliever named Emmanuel Claus. And that, to me, that's a move the Mets should have been all over. By the looks of things, you could have got Kluber for Brandon Nimmo and maybe Drew Smith. Instead, the Mets, they made some smart moves here. Made 2 signings of, let's take a chance on 1-year guys that have been good pitchers in the past, but in the case of Waka, has had injury problems the last couple of years, and of course, in the case of Porcello, has had a couple of down years in a row since winning the Cy Young Award, hoping that they get the best of these guys pitching on 1-year deals. And not that I think those are bad moves. I just, looking at what the Indians got in return for Kluber makes me wonder, could they have offered that kind of package and got Kluber in return? Or is this all still a money thing with the Mets? Because we saw them renegotiate the last year of Cespedes' contract, getting back, at least $10 million off of that deal. Was that money put toward signing Rick Porcello, or is that money still there and they could have, made the move before the Porcello signing to make a trade for Corey Kluber? Did they even look into that at all? No, I'm not trying to be a bad guy here and say the Mets made bad moves. These are good pitchers that they're taking a shot on 1-year deals, but after seeing what Kluber was had for, makes me wonder if they could have gotten him, and then you have two-time Cy Young Award winners at the top of your rotation. So then, Brody Van Wagenen would have really backed up the talk that he tried to say last year, the nonsense that he put forward, claiming that, we have the deepest rotation in baseball. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because you go 8 miles to the east, you will see Yankees have the deeper rotation. But, hey, still a lot of time in the offseason for them to change that and see if they can add more depth to that and see if they can actually, on the field, back up that claim. But as a baseball fan, I'm happy with how this offseason's gone. I like that we have had a lot of moves so far. See if there's still more things to come. See if the Brewers actually do trade Hader. See where Dylan Betances goes. Do the Indians still trade Lindor, which has been a hot rumor for at least a year now? Do the Yankees trade J. Happ? Does someone blow away the Mets for Noah Syndergaard? Do the Red Sox trade David Price? So still, here on this Monday afternoon, about the halfway point through the baseball off season, still a whole lot of questions to be answered as we go along here. And that, my friends, is Keeping It Sports with M3 for Monday, December 16th, 2019. Thank you all who listened to this podcast or watched it on Facebook or the replay on YouTube. Hope you all have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys again same time next week. Peace.
We have to go. Good night, everybody. I have had enough of you. Thank you for all the fun. Thank you. Hey, shut up, will you?
I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to smell you. Now leave.
I'll be back.